United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, it is hereby announced and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the following: posted on the bulletin board of the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board within the municipal complex, printed in the Home News Tribune and Cranberry Press on December 29, 2023, posted on the Monroe Township website, and sent to those individuals who have requested personal notice. Laura, please take the roll.
Mr. Rothman?
Here.
Ms. Brodsky? Here. Mr. Patel?
Here.
Ms. Damiani?
Here.
Mr. Slavicek?
Here.
Mr. Weiner? Dr. Kenzie? Councilman Van Zora?
Here.
Mayor Delina?
Here.
Chairman Gaffrey?
Here. Okay, Laura circulated the minutes of the last meeting, September 26, 2024. I'm sure you've all had a chance to read it. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, we're going to go right into to resume the pending application PB 1250-22 Federal Business Centers, Inc. There are two members of the board that weren't here for one of the two prior hearings on this application. I'm just going to have them state for the record that they have reviewed the video of the one or more of the hearings that they missed. You could just state your name and indicate that you reviewed the record.
Rosalind Brodsky. I did watch the meeting on YouTube while I was sick at home.
Thank
So
you.
I know what's happening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greg Slavicek, I have reviewed the testimony from the July's meeting as well.
Okay, last time we were here, we heard many insightful and informative and articulate comments from the members of the public. We appreciate all those comments, but the board at this point, since we haven't heard from the applicant since July, so 3 months, Mr. Smith, we'd like you to update us on the application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the courtesy. As you know, for the record, Bob Smith, I'm a licensed attorney in New Jersey, and I'm representing Federal Business Centers. I think we've now had 2 hearings on this, or I think we're at 2, right? We had a first
Two
one
in July,
and the second one with the public comments, and we have a continuation of public comments tonight. So by way of update, at the, I believe it was the last hearing, one of the board members said that they thought that the traffic report might not be as valid as it could be because we were using warehouse traffic statistics for warehouses that were not in Monroe. And I'm happy to report to you that our traffic expert has now conducted additional studies on 4 Monroe warehouses, and you should have those traffic numbers. And by the way, they were very consistent with the other numbers. But 4 different warehouses in Monroe, and you will have that supplement to the report either by tomorrow or latest Monday. Secondly, we have been trying to get a meeting with NJDOT. You may remember that Councilman Van Zora suggested that we have a meeting. Getting a meeting with the DOT is like trying to get a meeting with the President of the United States of America, but we're seriously working on it. And then thirdly, for the second time, as you know, we requested an adjournment to December 4th. And the reason for that was the hearing that we had last month. We thought the hearing was also insightful, and we thought that the residents came up with some pretty good ideas, suggestions how the application could be made better. And we've tasked our engineers to revise the application to take a lot of the suggestions from the public into account and to also make the application absolutely consistent with the zoning. such that it would be variance-free. Right now, we are a permitted use, but we have a number of bulk variances. In fact, quite a few bulk variances.
There's 10 to my understanding.
Yeah, what's that?
There's 10 variances.
It might even be more. In fact, to make it easy, if I might, because I don't know if you saw the details of the letter, but and the attachment to it lists every variance and how it's being eliminated. So with your permission, maybe I can give it to the board secretary so that everybody can see what it is that we're going to be presenting.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, it just appears to me if you're eliminating all or most of the variances from the application, isn't that a substantial change in the application requiring a new application? And I'm going to defer to the town planning board attorney and the planning board engineer for comment on that, but it would appear to me that that would be a substantial change requiring a new application.
If we change the use, I'd agree.
By the way. As the attorney for the board, I agree. And if you make it substantial changes, it really creates a new application.
I respectfully disagree. Actually, if you remember, we had that discussion in another application about 4 years ago, Francis Parker. And the bottom line that in New Jersey, it is routine practice before planning and zoning boards to amend an application in response either to public comments or in response to board concerns. And we got the message. We really did get the message with the 3 hours of testimony. We're going to make this a better application. And I would respectfully disagree with Jerry, although I try never to disagree with Jerry, that it is not only common practice, but it's pursuant to the land use law. Why have hearings if you're not going to modify an application to meet the public's concerns? And that's what we're doing. We're just modifying the application to meet the public's concerns. We asked for the adjournment so that we could get it to you in time for your staff to have reviewed it by December 4th, which would be the next hearing.
How many of the variances are you seeking to remove from the application?
We're hoping to remove all variances and make it a no variance application, which again, in terms of the purpose of the municipal land use law, as a board, and I'm not telling you how to do your business, but generally you want people to have perfectly conforming applications. It makes life easier for everybody. And we're also incorporating a lot of the suggestions that the residents had about buffering, landscaping, lighting, other things that they thought were important to address their concerns. And I think that's absolutely consistent with the municipal land use law. I would agree with Jerry if we were changing the use. If we came back to you and said we want to build a beauty salon here, that's a substantially different application. This is still a logistics center. All you're doing is modifying a few of the parking, lighting, landscaping in order to conform to your ordinance. That's not a substantial change. That's a change that is pursuant to the municipal land use law because you do these hearings in order to get the public input and to find out what's important and what should be modified. So I respectfully disagree with Jerry. And the only reason
As chairman, I have to defer to our planning board counsel for his comment and wise advice as to that issue.
Well, you haven't gotten the plans yet, but you should be getting the plans the first week of November. And you can make that determination if you wish. I would suggest to you might want to do a little bit more on the investigation side on that issue, because I think it's pretty clear, actually.
Mr. Smith, is there anything else you want to add?
Yes, there is. And that is that, number one, I would like the board, if it's acceptable to you, we sent this in, this is the letter that's already in your file for Mr. McGowan, to actually see what it is that we are doing. We are continuing doing the stuff you've asked us to do, like more traffic counts and try to meet with NJDOT, so that, again, we can have an application that you can find favor with. And finally, we would like the opportunity to speak after actually two final wishes. We'd like to speak after all the objectors have finished so that we can respond to their comments. And then lastly, we're asking not to take a vote tonight, because obviously you can't consider the revised plans if you arbitrarily, in my opinion, and preemptively take a vote on this application tonight. We asked for the adjournment in writing about 10 days ago. We got the response back, just like we did the last time we requested an adjournment, that that's not possible. You have to go forward. We're doing it. We're going forward. But you don't have to take a vote tonight. If you want to continue the objections, and by the way, we might hear some other really good suggestions that we can incorporate into the plans. But what we're asking is to not take a vote. It's just not fair, quite frankly.
The most significant concern that I heard was traffic and traffic concerns and the entrance and the exit way and all the way up to 33. Where do we stand on those issues?
You will have a supplemental traffic report based on the traffic generated by 4 existing Monroe warehouses. You'll have that either by tomorrow or by Monday. We finish the traffic counts, and these are new traffic counts. I mean, we're not like looking at something that they submitted. We did it on our own. We have 4 new sets of data for you to look at. And I think you may be pleasantly surprised at the traffic counts in that report, but you'll have them very shortly. And that's why we're asking that you defer taking action tonight. Get the rest of the public testimony, but give us our opportunity to provide an application that you'd be much happier with.
I think Mr. Razamowitz has something to say.
Mr. Chairman, I would just also agree with our attorney. Some of these variances are substantial. This does not eliminate a minor variance. You have substantial variances here. The entire plan would change. I don't see how this even looks like the plan that's before us to eliminate these variances. Variances for parking in a front yard. That means the entire parking layout will change. Variance 254 spaces are required, and you got 161. Impervious coverage will change. Maybe the building gets smaller. I mean, we don't know what these changes are, but whatever it is, it appears to me to be a whole new application. I mean, this is the application that's before the board here tonight.
Well, as Mr. Rasimowicz points out, he hasn't seen the plans. It's our intention to eliminate as many of the variances as possible, but why don't we actually let him look at the plans to see if it is, in his opinion, a substantial change. The plans will be in your hands by the first week of December.
Anything else?
Anything else? Nope. Let me, if I can, leave copies of the letter for your board to take a peek at. We're done, right?
Mr. Chairman, if I could be heard at this time, we have to rely on the advice from our council, also our expert engineers, and it would appear to me based on their review, what the applicant seems to be talking about is a totally new application. So at this point, we've heard from the applicant based on what we've had on the current application. We've heard from more than 30 or so witnesses from the neighborhood who have clearly expressed their opposition to the application. It would appear to me that the record at this point is sufficiently complete where we can make a determination. And quite honestly, I don't see the need to continue to hear the same testimony over and over from people, although we certainly care about where our citizens come from and what they think. I think when we consider this application, and I'd also remind my fellow board members of this, the decision to approve or disapprove must be based on the factual testimony regarding the application. It does not depend on the number of witnesses. It should not be based on any political considerations or sympathy, how long people have lived here, what their expectations may have been. It needs to be based on the facts of the application. So when this first came forward about 3 months ago, I expressed serious concerns about issues in the application, including but not limited to traffic safety and other concerns. Heard nothing since that time that would change my opinion based on the record we have at this point. So when we consider the totality of the circumstances, I believe at this point, it seems pretty obvious that the negative criteria is going to far outweigh the positive criteria. And at this point, I think we've taken enough testimony, we've heard enough. And at this point, I would ask the board to consider a motion to deny the application.
Is there a second for the motion?
Okay, I will second that. I have a few comments, if I may. This area had been zoned for highway development, but that was in 2011. Since that time, 13 years later, this area has become a neighborhood. You've got single-family residence, apartments, townhouses, south, north, and west of the property. We still, the applicant, Federal Business Centers, has not identified whether it'll be one tenant or two that will be in the building. But they have talked about 18-wheelers coming and going, anywhere from 7 to 9 in the morning, and also at 4 to 6 in the late afternoon. They've requested, even though now that's coming off the table, widening the driveway from 35 feet to 65 feet in order to allow traffic of trucks every 9 minutes. Now, when you hear that, you suddenly take a look at what is the neighborhood today in 2024. There are hundreds of homes, hundreds of residents. You know what that means? A lot of kids. And if there are a lot of kids, please, a lot of kids anywhere like we were when we were kids, I can tell you they're going to be outside playing tag, playing touch football, even playing stickball. When you think about that, the question in terms of safety is not if there's going to be an accident with a kid, it is when there's going to be an accident. So when I look at safety and I look at what has happened in this neighborhood, I will certainly second the motion to deny.
Okay, before we move on to voting, is there any discussion to be had? Any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, then we're going to put this to vote, and just so the record is clear, a yes vote will be to deny the application. A no vote would be to oppose the motion that's pending to deny the application.
Mr. Rothman,
Yes to deny.
Ms. Brodsky,
Deny.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Damiani,
Yes, and it's because I think it doesn't belong in that neighborhood.
Mr. Slavacek,
Yes.
Councilman Van Zora,
Yes, to
Mayor
deny.
Mayor Delina,
Yes to deny.
Chairman Gaffrey.
Yes to deny. Okay, for the record, the application is denied. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break because there are some additional items on the agenda that we have to do. Those that wish to leave can do so at this point. and just go down the remainder of the agenda. Under memorialization, there is no resolutions to be adopted. On the public portion, is there any member of the public that wish to be heard on any issue other than the application which was decided tonight? Hearing none, I'm going to see if is there a motion.
Motion to close.
Second.
Second.
Okay, the next item is discussion items. Is there anything to discuss? Hearing none, correspondence. There are no correspondence on the, pending on the agenda. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
We're adjourned.
Good night.